The atmosphere could be cut with a blunt knife. 100 eyes of nobles, kings, lords of the great houses, the emperor himself, all within these crisp marble white halls. 3 younglings stand ready in front of the emperor, guarded by his oversized lizardmen protectors. Jacqueline, a tall and imposing mountain elf. Ceres, a short but nimble forest elf. And Wartak, a fledgling minotaur, barely grown into his horns. The emperor raised his lordly hand, silencing the room. Children of Altar, you were summoned here to explain the mess you created. The emperor's voice was not one of jubilation, more of concern, annoyance, anger. "MS my emperor?" Jacqueline spoke, her voice a-trembling. "Yes." The emperor's voice boomed heavily. "While it cannot be denied by anyone that the service you rendered unto us by destroying the Dark Lord and routing the treasonous wretch Calther from my kingdoms, the fact of the matter remains the means by which you accomplished this task is—" He leaned forward, emphasizing his words. "Concerning. See, could you be more specific?" Wartak asked, his gravelly voice now an embarrassing squeak. "Assassinating an imperial envoy at Wallwalker's Pass. To start." The emperor's voice echoed through the silent room. "We found an unholy script in his room at the inn we were staying at, my emperor. We knew it to be true he was a disciple of the Dark Lord. We followed, found more evidence. We silenced him according to your majesty's holy law." Ceres spoke up first, presenting a handkerchief with the unholy mark etched into it, sanctified by the holy order so it could not cause harm. The emperor took a deep breath, licking his lips. He spoke more with greater emphasis. "The destruction of the illusion watchtower at Rag's End? We came upon the tower already destroyed during our travels. We healed the soldiers we could and helped put out fires along with other adventurers. Martino the Brave was there as well, and he helped assist the guards in driving back the plague beast that was there." Jacqueline answered, her voice firm, but respectful. The emperor squinted his eyes at the rather well-endowed elf girl. "And the Battle of Crow's Rest? The battle where an entire legion of Baron Harbinger's troops were slaughtered?" The trio shook in fear. Wartak spoke this time with more strength in his tone. "We were at that battle. It was a slaughter. The Dark Lord employed a death knight to destroy the town of Redhall. Master Martino the Brave and Baron Harbinger both lost their lives evacuating the town." Wartak bowed his head in sorrow. "It was just dumb luck. I panicked. I tried to draw my bow on a skeleton that came too close. It missed." Ceres said sheepishly and tried to turn away to look at something else to avoid the emperor's angry gaze. "Yeah. Missed the skeleton knight and hit the death knight through his helmet right through his left eye, the arrow coming out the back of his head. Soon as he was gone, the hordes just dropped. Can't get more dumb luck than that, really." Jacqueline chuckled a bit at the absurdity of the situation. The emperor cast his gaze upon Ceres. "The burning of Eldener Forest? Enlighten me." Ceres seemed distracted and failed to answer. She had her head tilted to the side and her mouth agape. Jacqueline answered for her. "That was an accident. No connection to the Dark Lord or anything. We, had a short spar with a fledgling fire mage and, turns out he's a bit more powerful than anyone thought he was. He is currently in the Mages Guild receiving the most vicious chewing out I ever heard." "HHHMMMM." The emperor mused. "What about the dragons?" "You will have to ask Sir Eleanor and Sir Reginald for that information. We were never privy to anything happening with the dragon kingdoms." Wartak responded in earnest, his chest out and proud. Ceres remained distracted. A guard had now noticed, traced her line of sight, and was now likewise agape in shock at the sight they were apparently witnessing. The emperor remained undaunted and continued. "And the massacre at Dawnbreaker's Pass? Bandits ransacked the town, overran the guards, wiped the town out completely." Wartak proudly brandished his battle axe with a smirk. "They took a long time to die." Wartak let out a happy laugh, like a true warrior. Ceres and that random guard were now following something with their eyes, distracted from the scenario. The guard moved from his post, pile 'em at the ready, and stood next to Ceres. "You seein' that too, right?" Ceres whispered at the guard. "Yeah. What's going on? What is the meaning of this?" The emperor angrily bellowed at the interruption. Ceres and the guard all pointed at what they were looking at, and lo and behold, a monk of some kind was standing upside down, his feet on the ceiling, performing some kind of jig dance. Silence followed as the entire room now sat fixed on the creature. He looked a bit like an elf, only with a darker complexion, a rougher exterior, and with short rounded ears instead of pointy. The creature stopped his dance and smiled at the assembled crowd. He took in an audible, deep breath with a strange smirk, and suddenly, several dozen copies of him appeared out of magical doors all over the walls and ceiling, then simultaneously began to boisterously erupt in song. "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Belts off, trousers down. Isn't life a scream? Ha!" The copies of the creature vanished back into their portals, and a deafening silence followed. The creature slowly began to float in a seemingly random direction, and let out a gleefully sarcastic wee. As it floated into a wall, vanished, then instantly appeared floating out of another wall. "What?" was all the emperor could say. What? What's up with you den govna? You lot wanna fight? I'll break your reliquary, your scrouter. I'll slap your smeg, I swear on me mum." The rudeness was apparent, but the emperor seemed besides himself. The creature dropped his combat stance and began to laugh his way into another wall, appearing from the ceiling again. The creature floated softly from the ceiling and waited patiently a few feet above everyone's heads, as if patiently waiting for something to happen. "Pardon me, but who or what are you?" the guard by Ceres asked, albeit far too politely for the circumstances. "Right, sorry. I was having way too much fun with that. Silly me." He cleared his throat loudly. A sudden burst of holy divine light erupted from his form. Massive wings from back of brilliant gold and silver now proudly flapping in the wind, and a holy aura of divine greatness emanated from him as his brown monk robe vanished and replaced with sparkling golden armor. "Bow before me, for I am Lord," and stuff. The brilliant show didn't last long, and the diving being returned to the monk-clothed state. Then, as if nothing happened, resumed randomly floating off in a direction as if he had not a care in the universe. The emperor himself now spoke. "Pardon me, but may I ask some questions?" The creature suddenly appeared in front of the emperor, sitting proudly upon a golden hare. "Sure, why not? Speak." "Hold. Decorum, my boy, decorum. Just because you are in the presence of a laid-back god doesn't mean we can forget our manners. I am Emperor Jube Sardanes VII, High Lord of the Altharian Kingdoms. Pleasure to meet ya. The name's Fred. I was human. Now I god." He responded in kind and shook the emperor's hand. The emperor looked at his arm after the firm handshake and was taken aback at the sight of his 800-year-old careworn arm. Now looked like it was when he was but a lad. "Oh my, how, why?" It was the emperor's turn to be sheepish. I'll cut the story short. See, there were these dudes called humans, right? They fought, they bled, they were born, they existed, they died. Then they left their home planet and went into the stars to colonize the galaxy Then, after a couple thousand years, discovered the secrets of the universe, sometimes through less than savory means, and ascended into godhood to create and lord over their own custom-made planes of existence. I am one of those humans that did the whole ascending to godhood thing. Pleasure to meet you. He sighed and tipped the glass he was now suddenly holding in greeting. "WH. So, you created us?" "Nope. I'm just here. 'Cause my own created universe ran its course. So I'm wandering around universe to universe. I like stories. Universes tell many stories. And there are many, many, many universes and planes of existence. Doesn't matter where I go, I still have dev hacks. So, anything you need?" he asked rather nonchalantly. Ceres spoke up suddenly. "We lost our two greatest warriors in a battle. Can you bring them back?" "Sure. Thanos, go snap!" he yelled out, snapping his fingers. Martino the Brave and Baron Harbinger suddenly popped into existence and flopped to the floor. On regaining their composure, they looked confusedly around the room. "Done. Baron von Beefcake and his chum Chadboy the Stronk are back. A bit worse for wear from the whole roaming forever in eternity thing. But there they are. You are welcome, he said and casually sipped his drink. The Emperor by this point was flabbergasted to oblivion. Mouth agape, face pale and trapped in a petrified mid-gasp. Fred took the opportunity to look around and settle his gaze on Ceres. He reached out with a finger and gently tapped her on her tiny elven nose. Boop! What was that? Universal law. Laws that even gods have to obey. Unilaw number 27. If you seize the cute, boop the snoot. It matters not what universe it is a constant. He stated simply and floated back to his position in front of the Emperor. Wah! W.H. Flubbenthraff was all the Emperor could muster in response. How could one respond to this situation exactly? A literal god, who seems way too happy to be here, suddenly appears in your home and brings back 2 dead men in front of your eyes and performs miracles the best of mages could only dream of. My Lord Fred, I have a question. Wartak broke the silence. So ask it. Don't call me Lord. I hate that grovelly snivelly shit. Oh, Fred, how exactly does one attain your kind of godliness? Wartak asked, seemingly genuinely curious. Oh, there's plenty of ways. Step 1, fix your planet. Step 2, leave your home planet. Step 3, spend a few thousand years building civilization across the galaxy. Step 4, try not to get yourselves killed within that time. Step 5, you have 6 options, which are as follows. Quantum entanglement cascade reaction inside of a microquasar caused by a matryoshka brain. Entry into the shroud, a dimension of nightmares and dreams, where you are literally consumed by an all-encompassing power between universes. Uploading of oneself, one's people, or an entire species into a quantum computation network inside of a planetary computing complex, then get lost to the quantum foam of life. Attain supreme power in mastery of magic, and cast an emergence cascade ritual, and ascend into the ether with all magics. Refuse to die no matter how hard the universe tries to kill you and figure out a way to break through the chaos matrix. Or do what I did. Ascend to divinity through hard work, discipline, meditation, knowledge, and contemplation. Oh, I didn't understand any of that, but... Thanks, Wartak responded with a sheepish grin. You will. Given time, patience, and a shot at the future, you will. The great filter comes to us all. Only the truly great will survive it, and only the truly masterful will overcome it. Any species that survives evolution survives subsequent attempts at extinction by various factors including disease, war, famine, or hardship passes the first 2 filters. Any species that leaves their home planet for more than a year passes the 3rd. Any species that establishes a presence on another world survives the 4th. The rest of the galaxy's occupants, or lack thereof, are your 5th and final filter, he said, smiling at us. First, however, I noticed something about you. Massively diverse. I count 17 distinct lineages here. But there is something that troubles you all. Something awful. Something that is ostensibly your first filter. Trogs. That name filled us all with a mixture of hatred, fear, and revulsion. Ceres ducked behind Wartak in fear at the sound of it. The room filled with a collective mixture of gasps, boos, and curse words. Indeed, worse than goblins, I dare say, at least the ones back in the day. So, I have a bargain for you, and I shall rid the world of them. I shall be happy to pass for your sake the first filter if you do something for me, he said and stood on the floor in front of the Emperor. Name it. It is yours. The Emperor replied in turn. Slavery. Abolish it. Send any who dare practice it to the headsman's axe. Release all who are in bondage and swear on the graves of your ancestors to devote your time to stamping the vile practice out wherever you find it. Fred's eyes glowed red with hatred at the utterance of these words. It shall be done. By the gods, it shall be done. I shall need to muster my armies to persuade some of the barons. But by your will it shall be done. The Emperor sat steadfast, looking Fred in the eyes. That was easier than I expected. Trogs must be quite awful for you to agree that quickly. I will be right back. Fred said, then popped out of existence. The sudden disappearance of the god left the room somewhat relieved and calmed. A SFT muttering followed as the emperor stood from his seat, ushered away his stewards and fetched the good parchment from his desk. Fred returned as the emperor began to write the holy order that would abolish slavery from his kingdom. Fred stood a few feet above the air, effortlessly holding from its tail a nasty, awful, horrible, stinky, slimy trog. It got a whiff of an elf girl in the room and began to go mad, slobbering all over the floor with its repulsive breath. So this is a trog, eh? Can see why you don't like them much, Fred said, as he waited patiently for the emperor to finish his writ. Done. It is a simple draft, I shall have to work to do it properly. But here it is. The emperor presented the writ to Fred. Fred seemed satisfied. Meh, it'll do. Now, lemme see. Yes, here we go. He loudly cleared his throat. Bully go splat. Fred yelled aloud as he threw the fetid beast into the ground, splattering it into the floor in a shower of blood, guts, and filth. The remains of the beast disappeared into a portal, a swirling vortex of empty nothingness from which an abyss would cower. Other portals of similar kind suddenly appeared, and Fred the god held his arms aloft and began a chant as a stream of tens of thousands of the fetid beasts was torn from their places, sucked in through the portals that bound them and cast mercilessly into the abyss to the horrific sound of screeching and crunching bones. After a few minutes of this horror, it stopped, the portals closed, and Fred snapped his fingers, replacing the foul stench the beast left behind with a soft whimsy of tulip and lilac. And done. Species extinct. Now lemme just do one more thing, Fred said and whisked up a parchment of his own. After scribbling for a bit, he handed the paper back to the emperor. The emperor read it aloud. By order of the divine lords of the holy light of the void, I do hereby declare that any ownership of another sentient life form by any means is strictly prohibited. Those who fail shall have their souls eaten and bodies cast into the eternal void to be fed to gravehounds as sustenance. So saith the Lord. Peace out. Fred gave a peace symbol with his left hand and promptly vanished. A few moments of dead silence soon followed. Ceres finally broke this silence. I need an ale.